People often ask for success, but not many dare to ask about the causes of their own failure. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to turn whatever they touch into money and gold, while others try their hardest yet keep circling in the same place? This question is not new. It is a question that echoed in my heart for almost half my life. To answer it as deeply as possible, allow me to tell you some truths, paid for with almost a lifetime. When the sea is calm, anyone can be a ship's captain, but when storms rage, only those with a map and a compass can bring the ship safely to shore. If someone had come to tell me when I was 30 that in the next 5 years the business empire I built from nothing would collapse into ruins, and that what would save my life at the last moment would not be money, not connections, but just a small piece of paper with circles and messy numbers on it, I would have laughed loudly in their face and thought, either this person has lost their mind, or they have watched too many fantasy movies. Back then, I was the image of a modern working woman who believed in herself completely. I lived by the saying, how could heaven's decree beat one's own effort? I poured my sweat and strength into building my business, sleeping little, working relentlessly, fighting hundreds and thousands of obstacles, until everything began to fall into place, my situation became stable, and I sincerely believed that I could control everything in my life. But then, as I entered age 35, the greatest storm of my life struck without any warning. It was not just an ordinary rainstorm. It was hurricane-level waves, one after another, sweeping away everything I had built. The business that once flourished stumbled and stalled. Debts piled up like mud clinging to a pig's tail. Problems flooded in from every direction, employees, people close to me, finances and family relationships. The scariest thing at that time was not poverty. It was not knowing why it was happening. I tried every worldly strategy, reason, logic, and twice the diligence. But the more I struggled, the more I was like a drowning person being pushed farther from shore by waves. Confidence turned into paranoia. Stress gnawed at me until I couldn't eat or sleep. Wherever I looked, there were only steep walls with no way out. At the moment life was cornered and despair reached its limit, it was as if the wheel of fate turned to meet a point of convergence. Fate led me to meet a teacher, a master of wisdom in astrology. He did not ask about my business problems, not a single word. He only asked for my exact birth date and time. Then he sat down and silently drew lines and calculated scribbling numbers onto a blank sheet of paper. The moment he opened that strange sheet of paper with a circular diagram and began to speak, greeting the events and patterns of my life, at that very moment, my whole world stopped turning. How did you know? He had never met me before. He did not know the ins and outs of my finances. But what he said came out of that sheet of paper with an accuracy as if he were standing in the very events, like he could X-ray my life as it was falling apart and see through it completely. He did not speak about ghosts or spirits, did not threaten or scare me, and did not talk superstition nonsense. He was explaining the natural rhythm of my life through the rules of planetary motion in the sky. He pointed out that this crisis was not an accident. There was a karma code that had already been set to erupt at this age, to force me to change and learn some important lessons. What I felt then was like someone lost for a long time in a dark, freezing cave. Then suddenly someone kind lights a bright candle and places an exit map into your hand. At that very moment, I asked a question that changed my life forever. What is this piece of paper really? Why can these lines and numbers that seem meaningless record the secret code of the universe for one person so accurately? Intense curiosity replaced despair. I realized immediately that what was in front of me was not mere fortune-telling guesswork. It was a great body of knowledge of the universe, able to solve life's mysteries that worldly science or any diploma cannot explain. If I could read the secret code on this sheet of paper, I would know. When will this storm calm down? Where should I take shelter? And when the sky clears, which direction should I head to find treasure? That was the beginning that made a workaholic woman who once believed only in herself decide to abandon all pride and ego, bow down, and ask to be accepted as a disciple, to study this profound knowledge seriously, tenaciously. And that, my friends, is the beginning of the long journey that has led to this series you are following.